Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I want to talk to you about intermittent fasting and whether or not it's going to be a great choice for you if you're currently either going through perimenopause or menopause. And if you are brand new into my world, I'd like to give you a warm virtual welcome. I'm Antonia Dow and I'm on a mission to inspire and empower and educate as many menopausal women as possible to show you that just with the right tools and strategies in place, that you can lose weight and keep it off. And today's subject is going to be really important for someone that perhaps has been doing intermittent fasting for quite some time but isn't getting the results, or perhaps if you are considering and you want to know if intermittent fasting is going to be a great tool for you and what to watch out for. So it's something that crops up all the time. Like I've noticed a lot of the women that I talk to and also my coaching clients, when they first come to me, a lot of women kind of do intermittent fasting but unintentionally. So they wake up, they aren't hungry, they're really busy first thing, maybe getting themselves organized, maybe getting the kids ready to go to school. And because they're not overly hungry, life gets busy and in the next minute it's lunchtime and you've kind of done intermittent fasting. So that's the unintentional intermittent fasting, and I see that very, very often in my coaching practice, and it can actually be a sign of a slow or sluggish metabolism, especially if you feel like that hasn't actually led you to lose any weight, or you feel like you're more maintaining rather than losing weight. But first of all, most of you aren't new to intermittent fasting. It's something that has been hugely popular for a very, very long time. You basically are going X amount of time where you're not eating anything. There's things like clean intermittent fasting where you only have water. Some people like to still have a bit of coffee with milk, but then, is it going to kick you out of your fasting state? All of those things are really highly debatable. And then basically, so you have your set amount of hours that you aren't eating, and then you have your feeding window at which you are encouraged to eat, and then you go through a prolonged time of not eating again. So there's different lengths of fasting that you can do, and they all come with their own benefits. The most popular one perhaps is basically where you go 18 hours of not eating, and then you have 6 hours as your feeding window. Which is a really good way to kind of jumpstart things, to give your digestive system a break, and to start fat loss as well, which is what most of you women are looking to achieve. And then you have your slightly longer fast, like for example a 24-hour fast, and that's more designed to help with gut health. So if you are kind of experiencing a slow digestive system or bloating or sluggishness, that's when a slightly longer fast can come in handy. And then obviously you've got your 3-day water fast, and there's lots of different versions, and I'm not going into great detail about the different ones and which one you should start out with, because what I find is that there isn't enough education around intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is a great tool and it's got so many great benefits, but most of us, as you are experiencing a shift in hormones, you will find that obviously your hormones are up and down. You've got different things happening. Your mood might change, your sleep might change, you might experience cravings and all of those things. And most importantly, you are more sensitive towards stress. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that quite often we don't just only talk about hormone-friendly nutrition and the right types of exercise to do if you are menopausal looking to lose weight. We also basically talk about being more sensitive towards stress. And these aren't your obvious stresses. It can be just your body dealing with, interrupted sleep, or, having mood swings, and all of those things itself makes you more sensitive towards stress. And when you're jumping in cold turkey, trying out intermittent fasting, you're basically going from probably eating 2 or 3 main meals. Most of you ladies, you would have a snack or two as well, to then saying like, okay, I'm basically not going to eat after dinner. And then the most common way is to leave your breakfast and then start your or finish your feeding window at lunchtime. So then you're doing your sort of 18-hour fasting window. And quite frankly, if your diet currently isn't too focused on hormone friendly foods and you are eating, some sugar and some simple carbohydrates like your bread and your pasta and all of those things, it's going to be a real struggle for you to be able to make that big leap. And I find there isn't enough education available for menopausal women to slowly transition into fasting. So if you are wanting to give it a go, basically you got to just be mindful and don't go cold turkey. You got to prepare your body and you got to work towards it, because otherwise what will happen is you can add more stress to the body and you can potentially gain weight. So if you are currently doing intermittent fasting and you aren't seeing great results, chances are it's creating more stress to your body. And that's something that I experienced after I had my second daughter. I wanted to give everything a go, just trying to shift that number on the scale. And as well as, trying things like the keto diet, I've also tried intermittent fasting and I've actually gained a couple of kilos and was pulling my hair out because, everything was working so well for my husband and he responded so beautifully, but I wasn't able to get the same results. And looking back then, I wish that I would have known that, because I'm still recovering from childbirth, so to speak, and my hormones are like out of whack, and I'm kind of like, dealing with all those different things. That's why it was just an added stress as opposed to actually a benefit to aid to weight loss. So if you're going through perimenopause or menopause and beyond, the principle actually remains the same. You got to always focus on looking after your hormones first, and essentially even if you are initially getting some results, don't forget it's a way to restrict your calories. And yes, energy in versus energy out equals weight loss if you are in a deficit. So if you have been eating, a breakfast, lunch, and a dinner, maybe some snacks, and then you've been doing intermittent fasting, you might actually get some traction initially, just simply because you're cutting out a big amount of calories. So you could be doing that without intermittent fasting as well. So I want you to know that, it's also got to be sustainable. And what I struggled with when I was doing intermittent fasting is that I either had to give up my morning coffee, and I didn't simply enjoy just having black coffee, but I also then thought, okay, well, do I swap it around and then I'll just finish eating after lunch? But then, of course, you want to have that mealtime with your family, and it's the end of the day and everyone sits together, and kids, they grow up so fast and they'll be flying the nest and doing their own things, so that you want to always have family dinners together. So that basically made it incredibly unsustainable. Now, it's not to say that I'm against it. I think it's a great way of promoting overall health and well-being and essentially help you lose weight, but it's a tool, right? So when we look at our weight loss toolbox, we've got to look at nutrition first and foremost. Can you tidy up your nutrition? Can you eat more hormone balancing foods? And 90%, and I know this is always a hard one to understand, but 90% of women actually don't eat enough, which again can create another stressor to the body, as well as already transitioning through perimenopause or menopause. It all gets taken into account, and your body doesn't actually differentiate where the stress comes from. It just tries to protect you, and that's why a lot of you ladies actually struggle shifting weight no matter what you do, and that is basically the reason. So there's a time and a place for intermittent fasting, and I always make sure that your nutrition is dialed in. So anyone that comes into my coaching world, we look at, okay, what are you eating? How much are you eating? What can we do to enhance your nutrition? How can we incorporate more movement, but incorporate the right types of movement so that you are able to rev up your metabolism, increase fat burning without spending hours exercising and, doing stuff again that's not sustainable. And then once we've got stress management under control, which means you're also sleeping well, that your mood is balanced, that, you don't experience any cravings, all of those biofeedback markers are really important to actually prime your body for fat loss. And then once you're in the fat loss zone, essentially there's different ways of going about it. But personally, I tend to save intermittent fasting as one of my latest tools that I use on my clients. So when they get to within a few kilos of their goal weight, that's when we integrate intermittent fasting, but we'll do it in a way that we transition you into it. So it's not going from, eating your main meals and your snacks to suddenly having to fast, and then you get hangry and, you're actually throwing your hormones off and adding more stress to the body. We transition you into it, so it feels like your body doesn't really notice the difference, and it's not torture and it's not hard, and it feels quite pleasant, because the closer you get to your goal weight, the harder it is, because your body is really trying to protect you, holding on to every little bit of fat that's left on your body. So we've really got to have some tools in our toolkit to be able to continuously tweak things along the way to make sure that you're not stuck in a plateau. So that's how I like to use intermittent fasting. And also, it goes with anything. If you do anything for too long, that's too repetitive, your body clicks onto the fact that what you're trying to do. So your metabolism slows down. That's why women eating a low calorie diet say, like, I've lost X amount of weight, but now nothing is working for me. And then they're stuck in that hamster wheel of either drastically cutting calories further or increasing their exercise just to get the scales moving. And then you find yourself in a very dangerous position, because basically anything too drastic is going to backfire on you. You are going to get more hungry because your hunger hormones are increased, and then you're going to get cravings for all the sweet stuff that you're actually trying to avoid as much as you can. So that's when people then completely, fall off the wagon, as they would like to call it, but actually you're just fighting your body, which is trying to protect you. So hopefully this makes sense. And then obviously, if you're doing, I know a lot of people out there do one meal a day, but again, you can get some good results once you've eased into it, but it's not always the most sustainable approach. And eventually, if you continue doing OMAD, as in one meal a day, you are also going to hit a plateau. So I want you to think about, okay, well, if I'm going to give this a go, if I'm going to tweak things, how can you continuously change your protocol to keep seeing results? And that's why I like to use intermittent fasting as one of the tools towards the end of your weight loss journey, because at that point we have done everything holistically that we can do. We've balanced your hormones naturally, we've got you moving more, and your body is actually willing to not negotiate, but willing to let go off the fat, opposed to you doing all the right things and doing things really extreme and cutting calories and increasing movement, but not seeing the results. So if you are currently stuck, then my suggestion would be to have a look and see what it is that you're doing, and maybe you need to come out of intermittent fasting, or maybe you need to mix things up. Because what will happen with intermittent fasting, and especially those women that are still getting a period, so even if it's sort of on and off and you're transitioning from perimenopause to menopause, your progesterone isn't going to like it if you fast too much for too long. And that's why you've got different fasting windows. And I always like to educate the women that, are still menstruating. There's certain days where your body responds beautifully to intermittent fasting and it will accelerate fat burning. But then there's going to be other days where your progesterone is really not going to be great for. And that's when we've got to include more complex carbohydrates, as in your veggies, your sweet potatoes, organic oats, all of those things, to really help progesterone get a little bit of a boost. And then you also are going to experience a better period if you are still menstruating, or you're going to be able to alleviate some of the other symptoms that you may be experiencing if you are actually already going through menopause and beyond. So really evaluate reevaluate, what it is that you're trying to achieve, where you want to go. If you are in a bit of a rut and you are kind of stuck in a plateau, reevaluate and see what can you perhaps do differently so you keep on seeing the results. So I hope this has been helpful. As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe and to follow me for more. And I would love to know in the comments what it is that you're currently doing. Are you intermittent fasting already? If so, what protocol do you follow? And has this been helpful? Go and let me know. I look forward to speaking to you again soon.